Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here, and it is time for us to build some momentum. Every Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time, I invite you to join me where we just take a few minutes, try to keep it 15 minutes or less, to look at a tool or a tip or consider a technique or a trend that will help each one of us build momentum for interrupting or ending race based hatred and violence. And it's so interesting that a couple of weeks ago, someone saw the program for the first time and they were like, oh, this is really cool. It's like 10, 15 minutes. I get an idea. But what is this you mentioned? Like, what is mine to do? So, some of you know me because I do work related to leaders and teams and organizations being inclusive of all kinds of people. And the majority of the work that I do does allow us to look at what are some of the barriers and what are some of the ways we can build bridges between people who are very different from each other but are working together or going to the same church or being a part of the same community group, social group, or professional association. And in that work, I get to look at all the different dimensions of diversity, all the ways that we are different from one another, both culturally and genetically. But there is a Facebook group that I moderate that is focused on answering the question, what is mine to do to interrupt race based hatred, race based violence? With the people I come into contact with, how is it that we can look at the impact of racism on the way that we engage with one another and build positive, productive bridges? So, the What Is Mine to Do Facebook group really does focus on the impact of race, racism, and race relations. And so, I really do invite you to join us over at the What Is Mine to Do Facebook group. It's a public group. You'll have to answer 3 or 4 questions and look at the guidelines, and you can join us there for conversation and for inspiration. And the Momentum series is in support of the What Is Mine to Do group. So every week we look at a tip, a technique, a trend, or something related to the topic of interrupting race based hatred and violence. Now, a lot of this is really interrupting our patterns and our assumptions, and how we show up when we are engaging with people who are from a racial or ethnic group different from our own. And sometimes it also includes people in our own racial or ethnic group who maybe just have a different background. And so this is about tools and techniques, not theory. This is about how we take a model and apply it in our everyday lives. Or it is about, hey, have you noticed this trend? And be prepared for it so that you won't be caught off guard and blindsided. Tonight is an opportunity, or in this episode, no matter what time of day you might be watching it, is an opportunity for me to share a model with you and then to ask you or invite you to think about where you show up and also how you've engaged with others and noticed how they show up. Recently, I was leading an all day workshop, and whenever I am leading groups or even doing my own personal work around conflict, I find it's really helpful to look beneath the surface, like what may be causing the conflict. Or, of course, from a racial ethnic perspective, we're going to look at and consider cultural norms. But in our behavior, how we deal with that conflict, each one of us tend to have a pattern of where we fall. And so when I was preparing to facilitate this workshop recently, I was reminded of a model that I use a lot. and decided to use it. And it's often talked about as the drama triangle. And in fact, the um, the person who developed the model called it the drama triangle. And so Dr. Karpman, who developed this model, it is sometimes referred to as the Karpman drama triangle. And what it shows you and what it gives you the opportunity to diagnose is, am I really dealing with the issue, or am I showing up in a particular role, especially if that's a habitual role that does not serve me or does not help us resolve the situation. So I'm going to show you the model, talk you through it a little bit, ask you a few questions, show you the model in a slightly different form. And we're going to do all of that within the next 6 or 7 minutes. So the Karpman drama triangle. There are 3 roles in this triangle, going from the top left, the persecutor, top right, the rescuer, bottom, the victim. So the idea related to this model is that we often will find ourselves in one of these 3 roles when there is conflict rearing its um, ugly head. Although I don't think of conflict that way. I think conflict often is really very necessary. And so when we think of ourselves as the victim, right? It's somebody else's fault. Somebody else is doing something to me and I don't have any control over it. I am the one who's, you know, I am the one who's in big trouble, and bad things are always happening to me. Oh, woe is me. And it's someone else's fault. The persecutor, top left, the persecutor is the person who is often seen as they're angry, they're aggressive, they're very demanding, or they're just being a bully. And that's why we can't get anything done because they are behaving so badly. They're hiding information. They're spiteful. They're just trying to get revenge. They are the persecutor. The rescuer, top right, in this version or visual of the model, the 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 rescuer is a person who kind of swoops in, whether they've been invited to or not. And they swoop in because they've got to fix it, but not always from a place of power. Often the rescuer is fixing something they think needs to be fixed, or they're fixing something and then they're the martyr about it. Everybody needs me to come in. I will save the day, and I'm just, I'm carrying this burden. But it's my job and my role to rescue. So think about this, especially in the context of race and race relations and race-based hatred and violence. Often members of a certain group, usually a community of color, is encouraged to see themselves as a victim, to give their power away. And the persecutor is often seen as, someone by race or by gender, but we're talking about what is mine to do. So by race or ethnicity, they are the ones that hold the cards and they're the ones who are making all these decisions to hurt the victim. And the rescuer, unfortunately, a lot of people who see themselves as allies actually ease themselves into the rescuer mode, not intentionally, but by habit. And so when we think about these 3 roles, and they're not people or personalities necessarily, it's, have I slipped into one of these roles And is it helping us resolve the issue? So, for me personally, especially related to race, I was raised from a very young age, and I'm so grateful this is true. I was raised from a very young age that you are not the victim of racism. Like, as a Black person in the United States, yes, you are treated as a minority. There are a lot of assumptions made about people who are Black that are negative, but you may be the target of this or the focus of it, but you personally are not a victim. So you still have agency. You still get to decide how you will show up, even though other people or groups may set some limitations around you. You don't have to be a victim to that. You can still choose either within those limitations how you will maneuver, or you can choose to figure out a way beyond the limitations. Does that mean I am exempt from the impact of racism? Absolutely not. Because racism is a systemic, it's a system. There are policies, there's laws, everything that can create limitations. But I will not respond to it as a victim in all ways. Obviously, if somebody calls me the N word and they target it at me, that's I'm the target and I have to decide how I'm going to deal with it. But I don't have to simply accept it as so, and I don't have to spend hours and hours complaining about it. I'm going to take action. So, um, so it shows up all the time. And my request for you is to think about, do you have a habitual place that you stand, especially when there's conflict, and does that serve you, right? There may be times where you need to come in and help resolve a situation. That's not being an unhealthy rescuer, right? Especially if you're collaborating with a group of people or with the people who are most affected. That is actually collaborating or co creation. But if you are saying things like, well, tell me what's wrong and I'll fix it, or tell me what's wrong and I will come in and I'll lead this project and we will take care of that. That's different than being invited to offer input. That's different from collaboratively developing a solution or a next step for action. And and so it does make a difference. I want you to just take it in, and I want to show you another image of the model, because an easy way for you to remember this model, it's the drama triangle, but sometimes you will find it is labeled a little bit differently. So it's the exact same thing that Dr. Karpman described, but I know for me, at least a long time ago, it was easier to remember victim, villain, hero, victim, villain, hero, victim, villain, hero. But the roles are the same, that the victim sees themselves as the um, helpless, or there's nothing I can do about it. I'm at the effect of what, in this case, the villain, top right corner, is doing. Or the villain may not be doing anything to the victim, but is constantly blaming others. It's someone else. You're doing something wrong. You are not up to standard. You are not up to my standard. And the hero is the equivalent of the rescuer in the Cartman image, right? And they're always going after temporary relief, quick fix. I'm going to swoop in and take over to fix this, but they usually are not looking long term. So this is the drama triangle. I just wanted to share it with you today so that you could be thinking about, where do I do this? Where am I in the drama triangle? Am I creating all three of these roles create more drama. And the only way to move to a long-term, long-lasting conflict is to move off of the triangle altogether and work through the conflict toward an actual solution in a collaborative way. My name is Tracy Brown. I hope that this episode of Momentum inspires you to think about how you can interrupt or end race-based hatred and violence. I'll see you again to build more momentum next Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time.